Hello and welcome to The Personal Touch in Peters Township. My name is Toni Sulkowski and I am the host for this show. The Personal Touch in Peters Township is a show about how people in our local communities are reaching out to help others, both within Peters Township and outside of it. We know that many of us are blessed here and we're fortunate to have the time, the talents, and the resources to provide a helping hand to others who find themselves in difficult situations. And how we can reach out to others is the focus of this show. Today's episode is going to highlight a very special way in which an organization of caring people enables children of abuse or potential abuse to protect themselves in their own home. The name of this nonprofit organization is the Watchful Shepherd, and it was founded right here in Peters Township. According to the federal government agency, the Administration for Children and Families, of the 3.5 million children who were the subject of an investigation or alternative response in the fiscal year 2017, an estimated 674,000 children were determined to be victims of maltreatment. The number of child fatalities due to child abuse and neglect increased in fiscal year 2017 after increasing steadily for several years. Estimated referrals to CPS for investigation response or alternative response increased by 15% from 2013 to the year 2017. In light of all this, each state has its own definitions of child abuse and neglect that are based on standards set by the federal government. Most states recognize four major types of maltreatment: neglect, physical abuse, psychological maltreatment, and finally sexual abuse. Although any of the forms of child maltreatment may be found separately, they can also occur in combination. Abuse of children occurs across our nation, including our state, our county, and our own community. We are familiar with interventions such as mandated reporting, obtaining clearances to work with children. But what happens after that abuse is reported? What is done to ensure the future welfare and safety of children? Keeping all this information in mind, it is uplifting to know that there are people in our area who care enough to provide a practical solution to family violence. It is my pleasure today to introduce to you Tracy Walnoha, the Executive Director of the Watchful Shepherd, and Trish Dellana, Program Manager. Welcome to both of you for being here. And we're so excited that we can learn more about the Watchful Shepherd and how the people watching this show can become involved with efforts to keep children safe within their family units. Why don't we just start a little bit here by giving a brief history as to what the Watchful organization is, Watchful Shepherd organization.
Toni, thank you so much for having us.
No
we
problem.
really appreciate being here and being able to get the word out for the children, the victims of abuse. And the Watchful Shepherd started as a dream of Joe Femiani. Joe was a member of the Peters Township community for many, many years. He was a Paul Harris Fellow Award winner at his local McMurray club, and he started Watchful Shepherd with seed money from that club. Over 27 years ago, he started with basically a story about a little girl who passed away at the hands of her biological father after receiving, he got care of her in a custody dispute, and he was brokenhearted. He was an abuse victim himself, and he wanted to help children.
Wow.
Our units are basically a security alarm system for kids, and they started right here. The use of them started right here at Cannonsburg Hospital, and it grew from there. And it actually can be used and the potential to go countrywide. So that's the dream and the hope of what Watchful Shepherd has the ability to do in helping
right
families.
Now, is it just relegated to our region, or is it present within our state or beyond?
it is present within our state. And in the early years, he and his wife traveled as far as England, the UK, to discuss having these units used. And they actually, they remind you of the I've fallen and I can't get up system for elderly patients. They were actually around before that technology was even developed. Where it's gone from there is even bigger.
So right now, while we're recording this show, we're in the midst of, a crisis, a COVID-19 pandemic. And I am sure that has to be affecting family units in a variety of ways. I mean, it's been on television and talking about how we can psychologically and mentally cope with everything, the depression it brings on, the closeness and being together all the time, not being able to get out. Are you seeing or are you aware of any impact that is having on the very children that you seek to serve and to help?
Oh, absolutely, it's a concern. And if you look at any of the stats that are available, throughout the past months, and especially in and around Washington County, where we are located, their information is, it isn't that the abuse is not occurring, it's that it's sadly hidden from us, because the people that are mandated reporters, the people that usually are seeing children in a public way, such as schools, summer camps, any sports, any of those types of situations, don't have the extra eyes on these children. And experts agree that the abuse may, while it's not showing in the number of calls or the reports, they don't believe that those numbers are actually decreasing. Their fear is that they're increasing, and it's hidden to the general population.
So probably is it's occurring here.
Exactly.
And then it's how do you get that help when you're not aware of where it's occurring or how it's happening. For the way that you've been helping kids prior to the pandemic, is that service still available to those families that are receiving?
It absolutely is. We work through agencies. The requirements of having a unit basically is that an agency follows so that nothing falls through the cracks, and that a child lives, resides, or visits a residence or a home. So it could be anywhere that a child, we have them in places where there's shared custody visits, so that some of our agencies are able to utilize them because it's a panic button type unit, that they can be utilized in that kind of a situation very quickly, as opposed to trying to dial a number
on a phone. So let's explore that facet of your organization a little bit more, so that we're more knowledgeable of what the Watchful Shepherd actually does. What is your relationship with the agencies, and what types of agencies do you interface with?
So we work very closely with county agencies, children and youth services, domestic violence, those agencies that provide extra help to our county agencies, such as Justice Works, Blueprints. Really, there's no end to who can utilize these units, as long as they're part of the program that follows a family. When we look at statistics for how children work best or handle any kinds of issues of abuse, what they're finding is not necessarily family separation, but keeping these families together. That tends to be to have less trauma on the family unit. It has less trauma on the child, and children tend to come back regardless. So if they can work with the families within their family unit or their home, that's what agencies are trying to do. This adds that bit of protection, and while we do get calls from the general public, we help work with them to put them within any of the agencies that help with these types of abuse or neglect situations, and then we work with those agencies to follow through.
So you're not actually going into the homes or doing any case management type of thing?
We're not able to do that. We supply this tool. It's a tool for the tool bag of these caseworkers for the agencies that we're involved with.
Just curious, how did the name Watchful Shepherd come about?
That would have been Joe
Joe's
and
head,
his
huh?
and his family. But I'd imagine it's the idea that it's that protection when, you know, the eyes of an agency, the eyes of the community can't look over these kids, and it's a hand for them to hold so that they can sleep easy at night.
So where is the Watchful Shepherd located? Do you have like a physical presence somewhere, or?
We do, right here in McMurray,
Okay.
right in Waterdam Plaza. That's been our home for a lot of years. I think Joe started, I wasn't here to meet him, unfortunately, but I've been told, you know, what a gifted person that he was and all that he gave. But he had a lot of friends within the community that helped support him with office space and, you know, donations. They did golf outings. They did so many fundraisers and things along the way to get this off the ground, to help pay for the units themselves. And we are blessed that we are able to, we're at a point where we provide these free to the agencies and families. We work on grants, donations, and you know, private donations from individuals, you know, like yourselves,
Right,
that throughout the community to fund us. Now that's where our physical location is, but we have units throughout Pennsylvania, including as far as Lackawanna County on the east side of the state.
Okay, so you're talking about this unit, and you brought one with you.
We did.
So do you want to show that and
Absolutely.
Explain how it works so
Absolutely.
that we can learn a little bit more about it?
So the unit itself, it actually looks exactly like a, you know, a medical alert system that maybe an elderly person would have in their home. And the button, you can push the button at any given time, and it lets you know that help is on the way. And one of the things that it does that other units might not be capable of is it starts to record. And so in a case of abuse, for law enforcement or whoever is putting the case together for keeping the family together, or if sadly that they shouldn't be together, that audio is very helpful and crucial in cases such as that.
So why don't you hold that up so
Sure,
maybe
sure.
they can get wherever the camera.
So this is what the unit looks like. If it has you know, the antenna on it, that's our wireless. So most places utilize this the same way you would have bars for a cell phone.
Okay.
And the wristbands are worn as opposed to the necklace that a lot of elderly patients wear. But the children, we supply wristbands to. The necklace can be a choking hazard.
Right.
So we
So it's
utilize
safety then.
Right. And these are used inside that residence or home or any place that the child visits, and they can be given a wristband, as well as caregivers. These have stopped an abduction, so grandparents and any kinship care that are having custody issues. You know, with you know, the drug overdoses and parents have lost custody, it may be difficult for a family member to take a child or children in because they're concerned about parents coming back. This has stopped an abduction. A 3-year-old has pushed this button in the case of a domestic violence dispute. They knew to hit the button. So there are so many instances where the child and or the adult involved, you know, could hit that button, and it contacts a response center that is 24/7, 365 days a year, and they contact local police.
Now, when you say it records, does it record to that device?
It records. It records to this device. So
Okay.
we have written as well as audio. So if it's within hearing distance, the button can work up to, you know, a 1-2 block area, depending on the reception in that area.
So the kid could be outside.
Could be, yes.
And maybe
that's
something
tested.
happens. And
Exactly. That's tested regularly. The reason we do have GPS models, they're a little bit larger and they have to be charged. So you have to be careful regarding, you know, how that's used and if they're carefully charging the unit every night. But these are stationary because unfortunately we know that neglect and abuse, 3/4 of it happens in the home by someone they know. it's not necessarily a stranger on the street.
So 75% of abuse is
Up
within
to,
the
yes.
home.
Yes.
That's a pretty high statistic.
It's very high. It's very high. And
So-
that's what makes this pandemic
Even
so,
frightening.
yes,
Yeah, very much so.
absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. Because they're locked in with the abusers.
Right. And even now with all of this, the court system is probably slowed down,
It absolutely is.
if not ground to a halt in some areas, because of concerns with distancing and spread.
Absolutely.
So that makes it even worse for the children as well.
And what's again, what compounds it, if they are, you know, if court is not in session, you can Zoom. Teachers are, you know, having that capability as well, but there's only so much you can see on a television screen, especially if people are trying to hide it.
Right.
And unfortunately, there's so much that goes along the stress, the financial stress, you know, domestic violence, those numbers are up. All of the things that can cause the horrible storm
Yeah.
that, you know, is the reason.
It's all present.
Right. So
Social, economic, mental,
Exactly.
emotional. Right.
exactly.
So now I noticed you had a plug there. Is that
It-
the power
It is
source?
the power, but basically that charges the battery, even if it's pulled out of the wall, which
Okay.
has happened.
Yes.
The backup is a battery, and that we get notifications when these are unplugged, when there's loss of power, and so we work with our agencies to let them know, you know, a report came in, or, you know, there was an accidental push of the button, but, you know, this needs checked out. So we act as a source to our agencies in any kind of correspondence that we receive, and that includes loss of power for whatever reason.
So is this cellular or is it into the landline?
Both.
Oh, either way.
The one that we happen to bring is cellular. That tends to be what is put in the most. A lot of people don't have, you know, landlines anymore in their homes.
Right.
But there also are a lot of,
Without internet access.
right.
That's
Our-
another crisis.
Well, right, our rural counties
Right.
there are places where that is all they have,
Yep.
and they utilize the landline service,
Right.
and there's no interruption with, you know, your regular telephone, none of that.
That's great. Now, obviously, if this machine is in a home where abuse has taken place, that means that if the abuser is still present in that home, you know, and you're trying to keep the family intact, then they're aware of this unit being there.
That's correct. So it can stop things from happening. The button was actually pushed by a parent who knew things were getting out of control and needed help. So they pushed the button. There are so many instances, and you know, I'm not going to lie, there are also instances where they don't want it in. But if it's part of a plan that is put together by the agency that is trying to help them, I think it can be seen again as a tool to help keep that family together, and a security system for a child that might be afraid to be in that situation, especially if they're, you know, dealing with parental drug abuse, or even if it's an angry or a violent older child being reintroduced into the home, which has happened.
Yeah, it's not just relegated to the parents then.
Right.
There could be siblings that are abusive as well.
Correct.
Exactly.
Correct.
Wow. So you supply these units then to the cooperating agencies
Correct.
and you service them.
Correct. We lease them so that if there's any kind of updating in technology, they're switched out. It used to be when Joe first started, he had to buy the equipment, and part of all of that, you know, was the systems that got put in for the reporting in the hospitals. Allegheny General had one, but then 911 was developed, and that has connected so many things. So there's not the, you know, all that heavy equipment that you had to buy up front. Now these are leased. The technology is upgraded as it
You don't
changes.
have to worry about that.
Correct.
Okay, so let's say something is happening in a home and the child pushes the button. It goes to one of your call centers.
Correct.
Now what happens from there?
The call center notifies local law enforcement, and law enforcement deals with it as they would any call. And, you know, and that any 911 call.
So they actually are making the 911 call for the child,
Correct.
in essence.
Right.
And you
Correct.
said
And it
a child at the
records.
age of 3 even
That's
would
correct.
be able to do that.
Right.
That's correct.
And it's recording as it goes on. So the
Correct.
911 sends out appropriate people, personnel
right.
to that home.
That's right.
And that's how it happens. Okay, so these devices can't be cheap, right? And you're a nonprofit.
We're a nonprofit.
Um,
It's getting hit hard.
I know a lot of nonprofits are, and I'm sure you're taking a hit too. So generally, if times were better than what they are now, what are your sources of funds? You mentioned a little bit at the beginning, you know, grants and whatnot. Could you expound upon that a little bit more?
Absolutely. So many, I mentioned the Rotaries. They've been so gracious that over the years they help fund this, anything that has to do with, you know, for help for women and children. And so many of, you know, the other philanthropic organizations have helped women of southwestern Pennsylvania. Those kinds of
really
grants are so helpful for us. And, you know, we've had our own fundraisers over the years. One of our most successful, Dancing for a Cause, the home tour. We just had the home tour last year. That was a huge success. We're over the years, you know, that's been wonderful. And this year we were set to have Dancing for a Cause. It was the 10th anniversary of that event itself, having an all-star reunion, and unfortunately not able to do that. No. So we've come up with something a little bit different regarding our fundraising. Again, it has to be virtual, but instead of dancing, we've considered a mask for aid. And
So that's what you have there in your hands, right?
Yeah, it's our own take on a masquerade.
Since
So
we're all
if you
supposed to
see
be wearing
something-
masks, okay.
say something.
Ah,
Don't cover your eyes.
okay, so that's the branding for that.
That absolutely
Don't cover your
is.
eyes. Just cover your mouth and your nose. But
Not
don't
your
cover your
eyes.
eyes. Make sure you
Correct.
report it.
Correct. So we'll be putting that information out, and I think I sent that in for you to do as well, so that people can maybe decorate these masks, send them in, and we'll put together what was a montage to, you know, have a picture of what it looks like to continue
Where
to
will
help.
this montage be?
Well, we're working with Lamar Advertising, and they've helped
Oh.
us in so many ways in the past, especially for dancing. And so the idea is that they'll utilize that as our campaign this year instead of what they usually do for dancing. But it'll also go out on social media and all those places that we normally, our website.
So you have a website,
We do
which is
www.watchful.org.
.watchful.org.
Watchful.org.
Okay.
Yes.
So it doesn't encompass Shepherd.
No.
And what types of social media are you using?
So it'll be on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
And what's your username for those?
I believe it's Watch Shep.
Watch Shep.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But if they just put it in the search, it should
Yeah,
come
it
up
comes
in
right up.
any one of those formats.
Correct.
They should be able to find it on there so they can keep apprised of what's going on. And,
Yes.
this gives an opportunity for just everybody out there who's watching, that if they want to donate or provide some funds, or maybe they're a part of an organization that's looking to fund a good cause, and this is just so appropriate to use.
It's true, because so many of the businesses that usually donate for dancing, they've been hit hard themselves. So many of the people that buy tickets that come to dancing, they've been hit hard themselves. So a $25 donation actually covers the cost of this. So as little as $25. This is
all right, that's good to know.
that for a month. So you're covering a family for a month.
And that would be like a subscription cost.
Yes, for us, that's
Okay.
basically our cost.
But the
to cover
units
these.
themselves they're not $25. I'm sure they're more.
Well, we don't have yeah, luckily we don't have to, that's our lease cost, so we don't
Okay.
have to purchase them outright.
Okay, that's right. You did say that. Right.
So
that's a
that
total
covers the cost of us having the call center, all of that. So that covers that family.
So for $100, they could do 4 kids.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
If you look at it that way. Huh?
Absolutely.
Well, for families,
For
because there's
family.
multiple people in the family that can use these.
Okay. Then that's a good thing to bring up. So what if there's 3 kids in the family? Do they each get one
3
of those?
buttons.
Correct.
3 buttons.
They're waterproof, so they can go in a swimming pool. They can be used in
The
the
bathtub.
bathtub. Exactly. Places where issues can sometimes occur.
What if the child is farther away from the home, taken out of the home and beyond that couple of blocks?
It doesn't work then, but then we talk to the agency. Maybe a GPS is a better, we've utilized those for autistic children that
Right.
tend to run. And so those are a better fit. So it just depends on what the situation. We work with the agencies to decide what the best fit for that
So
family
there is an alternative
Absolutely.
to what you
Correct.
have here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. These are our most used.
Most popular and
Correct.
easiest probably to use and
Correct.
to explain to everybody how to use,
Correct.
I'm sure.
The GPS does not have the recording capabilities as well, and that's huge.
Do you utilize volunteers? I'm assuming you're paid staffers for the organization. So
We're
that
the
you
only 2
keep it-
actually.
Okay, 2 staff. Do volunteers play a role at the Watchful Shepherd?
They do. We have volunteers that help make calls and check up on the children. They, of course, have all of their mandated clearances. They help with mailings. We have the WCCF Gives Day coming up, and so we have volunteers that come in for that. Peters Township has given us interns for one of their classes, so we've
that's
had
nice.
the kids from the high school come in and work with us. That's been a wonderful program. I'm hoping we get to do that this year. I'm not sure what how that'll work, but
Maybe they can make it work, huh?
yes, right now we have an intern from Princeton working with us this
Great.
summer, who's been a great help with us with our social media aspect and getting Instagram up and running. So that's
Pulling
been
this
always
campaign
is.
together.
yes,
Yeah.
and helping us with this campaign.
That is great.
Absolutely.
So is there anything in summary that you would like to share? Any future plans for the Watchful Shepherd, or just in general that maybe we didn't talk about through the course of our conversation?
anything you can think of?
I think we covered it.
Well,
Watchful Shepherd, the hope is that it will continue through the future for, not only just to keep Joe's dream alive of helping children. That was, his thing always was, if I just help one child, then I did what I needed to do, what I was called to do. But our dream, Trish and I, is that we can take this, throughout the country. There's really no reason for it not to be utilized in every state. It is seeing growth right here within our own counties. I think that's mostly because of where our physical location is, but to have it grow throughout the state and the tri-state area and beyond, I think would be where we're looking to take Watchful Shepherd in the future.
Well, good. So hopefully those people watching will know that they can probably help you by sharing the good word with family and friends
Absolutely.
in other states and other areas.
And
so
you can
that
be
we
part
can-
of the solution. Just keep your eyes open, and if you see something, say something. It's really important.
Well, those are good words.
Childline
end
has a 1-800 number that you can call. If you Google, Childline, if you Google, 1-800 number, and they get that information to the appropriate authorities within 24 hours. So if you see something, please say something.
Our children are our greatest resource.
They are.
And so I'm deeply appreciative to the both of you for being on the show today, and to thank you so much for your dedication and commitment to keeping children safe.
Thank you so
What
much.
a wonderful organization, and we hope that it continues to grow and continues to protect our children. So thank you, Trish and Tracy,
Thank you,
for
Toni.
being here. And I also would like to thank Kelsey, Sylvester, Ryan Bonai, and the student here from Peters Township for coming in on the summer and helping us out. And if you would like to pursue and know a little bit more about the Watchful Shepherd and what it does, or maybe get involved, or perhaps even donate to the organization, then please go to their website, www.watchful.org, and see how you can donate and how you can help out. I think that you've seen through the show today that indeed we do have people that care about others and want to help and want to reach out, and they want to be a part of creating a nice, caring community. So Tracy and Trish, they've shared with us that a personal touch does indeed exist in our community. Thank you for viewing The Personal Touch today, and we'll be in touch.